G'day, I'm Melissa Shannon, founder of digitalscrapbookinghq.com, and today I'm here with a process video for you. In this scrapbook layout, I was working from a prompt from the Scrap Happy load for May, and the prompt was talking about everything to do with meals, who plans them, who cooks them, who helps, who does the washing up, all that good stuff. So the first thing that sprang to mind was the fact that we use a meal planning site. I headed over to the site that I use, just pressed print screen, and I also went ahead and saved a copy of their logo so that I could use it in my scrapbook page. I didn't really have a design in mind. I didn't end up using a template, so I just kind of went for it. Then I jumped over to their website and saved a copy of the logo. As it turned out, the logo was a nice size and it was big enough for me to use on my scrapbook layout, so that was cool. So I just went ahead and used the file place method to insert the image so that I could resize it without losing any of the pixels. So whatever size I end up with my logo, if I make it big or small, it still looks great. Then I took the marquee tool, and selected part of the screenshot so the whole layout wouldn't look so messy and busy. So then I headed over to the Photoshop Elements organizer to find a kit. Now, I did a bit of searching around. I was looking for a specific kit I had in mind. So while I was waiting for that, I went ahead and took my journaling, which I had already typed up, and I set that to be my own handwriting font and just fiddled around with it. I ended up having quite a long amount of journaling, so that ended up making the design of my page very, it had to be journaling heavy, put it that way. So I decided to go with a symmetrical design, which I very rarely do, and I had a bit of a search in my catalogue for things that had the word eat in them. So here I'm just browsing through, having a look. Nothing's really jumping out at me at this point. I had a look at some doodled kits from Kate Hadfield, and I was also just going to see if I could find any more of her designs that would make sense. I found a few, but I still hadn't found what I was looking for. But eventually I scrolled down and I found these colours that matched perfectly with the logo of the Plan to Eat website. So I selected a few and just dragged them over into Photoshop Element. And then I searched for the rest of the kit to see what else was there that could inspire me. I really love that dark blue. So I ended up choosing the wood grain paper, and I thought that the Plan to Eat logo really contrasted well. So here I'm just building a little bit of a cluster, fiddling around with that, and I add shadows as I go. Usually I use the one little bird shadow with me, shadow styles in Photoshop Elements. I'm looking around. Of course I find a doily. I love doilies. It's always super fun to work with one of these kind of more fall or harvest type kits, because in Australia here we don't really do much kind of celebration of that season, and I don't usually get to use them. So here's where I came up with a nice idea to help my journaling stand out a bit. I found some of this paint effects, and I just used the Control Shift left square bracket to move that to the back of the pile. I really love my keyboard shortcuts. If you've taken any of my classes at DigiScrap HQ, you probably know that. But here I am, I'm just kind of trying to play with that paint and make more space, because of course I had stacks of journaling on this page. So I ended up just using the Alt key to duplicate that paint spot, and then I went ahead and flipped the layer. And at this stage I'm finally saving my work after about 10 minutes. Tut tut, Melissa, you should have saved it straight away. So now I'm just I'm rotating and flipping the specific layer to try and get it looking a bit more natural, plus extending that space a bit. And while I'm scrapbooking, I was actually listening to Vilna Furstenberg's process videos. I've been on a little bit of a YouTube binge lately, actually. I've been really enjoying watching some scrappy process videos, some hauls. I've been catching up on Inky Quill's fabulous videos, so really enjoying them. I've also been watching some of Cheryl Gone with the Wind's process videos too. So here you go, I'm just experimenting with reducing the opacity of that logo there to see how it looks. In the end I just left it be. And then I start playing with the paint splashes again. Yeah, so I was just aligning that to the center of the page. So you can use the alignment tools, and in this case I lined the logo up with the background of the paper. Multiple copies of this paint spot just to try and get it working for me. And yeah, I've just doing a bit of proofreading, seeing if I want to split up the journaling, deciding that I do. In Photoshop Elements, you can't easily make text boxes that kind of wrap around shape, so I actually split this into 2 text boxes to make it work so that it wouldn't go over my cluster. I really wanted to have more different clusters of embellishments, but in the end it didn't really work for me, so I just left it with one. I didn't leave it with one. I did actually add a second one up in the top right. So as I was resizing these holly leaves here. Well, they look like holly leaves. They're not really the colour of holly leaves. They're just silk leaves, let's just say that. And I duplicate them using the Alt key, and then I resize them. Now, the great thing is when you drag in more recent versions of Photoshop Elements, you can drag them in as smart objects, and I love working with smart objects because I just love resizing things 100 different times. It does make my end file sizes a bit bigger, but you could always simplify your layers if you wanted to. I haven't run out of space on my laptop, my desktop yet, so I haven't done that. I've just let it be. And so here I'm just doing a little bit of tweaking, moving things around, and of course I tried using the gradient layer mask to try and mask off some of that paint splatter, but didn't really work too well. So I spent probably a good 10 minutes working on that paint splatter. And I'm trying to get a doily on the page because I love doilies. If you ever get a paper card from me, you'll most likely have a doily. You'll find a doily on it. So I ended up putting a couple of doilies on there, and I also use the doily to kind of hide the slightly more ugly sections. Just looking around now, and decided to I decided to try having some I just decided to try seeing what it would look like on a lighter background. So just dragging in some craft paper here. Sometimes I like to do this. At the very end, I'd suddenly decide, would it have looked better on a light background? But no. Now the weird drop shadow from the saved section is not looking, because I thought it would be easier if I just had the text on a light background. So in the end, that's what I did. I cut down that craft cardstock using the layer mask and decided to move that paint splatters around again. I seriously must have spent 20 minutes working on these paint splatter. In the end, I took one paint splatter. I made it bigger. Don't tell anyone. Yes, I resized something bigger in digital scrapbooking. And then I was pretty much done. So after all that, I suddenly decided I was happy with it. And here's the final layout. Thanks so much for joining me for this process video. I hope you've enjoyed watching. I've sped it up a little bit, so if there's something you missed or you have questions about, feel free to leave me a comment. And I'll see you soon for another Photoshop Elements video. Thanks for watching.